Okay, so in this video today, I have an interesting one. I picked this up on eBay for a really good price. I think probably because everybody thought it was Frankenstein. But when I got it, I realized this was someone's music machine, so to speak. Why? Because it had this cartridge, Prophet64, which was the predecessor to the Messiah cartridge. This is a music sequencer, and if you don't know what that is, it basically allows you to make your own music tracks, set the instruments, set the beats, set the drums, set the all that kind of stuff. And the interesting thing further about this is I'm not quite sure how this is all put together yet. It has a potentiometer up there. I thought maybe that's the volume, not sure. Typically you have some potentiometers because it needed the paddles. I plugged the joystick in really quick, but let's take a look at some of the stuff that's back here though. So some of the stuff that's in the back, we have a few things. We have look like Midi outputs, input outputs probably. Microphones or speakers would probably go in here. This probably controls the speakers or these outputs, 1, 2, off. Not sure. Just taking a wild guess. You can see all the wiring that's in here. Obviously this has been highly modified. So just to give you an idea of what it does, let me plug it in. I already plugged it in just to see if I was to get a red light. By the way, I'm going to go ahead and plug this in and I'll show you what this thing does. It's actually pretty cool. So I put the cartridge back in. One little caveat that was kind of called out in one of my recent videos that, when I test these things, I plug it in because they've already been plugged in, and basically I was told, hey, you got to test the power supply and everything, no, I don't. So I built my own over voltage regulator, if you will. It'll shut off anytime the voltage goes beyond 5.2 or 3 volts. I forgot what I set it at. So I'm not concerned about the 5-volt rails on these things. I'm not going to burn anything out. I'm not putting out over voltage. So just so you know, all of my tests, all of my videos, I do have my own voltage protection. To their point though, if you're new to this, I wouldn't necessarily plug in the stock power supply without testing the voltage on it if you have a voltmeter. You can go online and look at the pinouts for the plug, but just make sure that it's not putting out more than like 5.2 volts. Otherwise it could spike and burn out some chips. Realistically, if you can avoid using the old power supplies on the Commodore 64 the better, because they are very old. They're not switchable power supplies and they're susceptible to height spikes. If you get one of those while it's plugged in, you're going to fry some chips. Okay, that's my disclaimer. Listen, I mean, you've all seen my videos. I put out a lot of videos with basically different symptoms so you can see what the symptom is and what the fix was. I don't go into the theory or anything like that. I ramble already enough as it is. But you can pick up the theory. But I've been doing this on the side for fun. I don't charge for repairs. For fun for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. I must repair like at least a couple of hundred of them by now, easily. I mean, I have about almost 100 of them in my own possession. So kind of know what I'm doing at this point. Learn my lessons early on. I'm trying to pass them on to you guys. Okay, that being said, let's turn this thing on. And let me show you what this Prophet64 is all about. All right, let's get up on the screen there. Okay, let me turn this guy on here real quick. And this was my first surprise, is that it worked. Didn't get a black screen. So I haven't used a Prophet64. Oh my God. And the first time I saw it, I was amazed and I loved it. And I put a keyboard, on the keyboard itself, for playing notes and stuff like that. But this is basically what it does. I don't remember how to use this thing exactly. It's a PAL system. Obviously, you can tell by the keys, but also, I don't know if you could tell by the monitor. When I turned it on, it said PAL. Typically, I remember having paddles to move this cursor around, or the mouse. I have a keyboard a joystick plugged in right now. I'm just going to basically just load a demo here. What am I going to do here? I'm going to move this joystick down. Yeah, that's what I need to do. Okay, so this way you can see what this thing does. Okay, you can see with the demo it's loaded at about 5 or 6 tracks, and each track, here's hi-hats, drum, the bass, and so on. So now if I hit the space bar and make this go, it'll start playing. Here's the hi-hats coming up right now. Okay, and then here's the drums. There you go. Okay, and then the bass and all this other stuff. So basically this allows you to edit the tracks and everything. Now, it sounds kind of funky, Commodore wise, but realistically, you have MIDI devices that you're plugged into this, drum machine and stuff like that, which then sound like real instruments and really cool and all. This also allows 2 SID chips, so it allows stereo and it allows more instruments. I don't know how many SIDs are plugged in here. We can take a look when we open this. This is as far as I've gotten with it. You're looking at it at the same time I am, basically. So let me see what else I got here. So let me quit out of this. And then we've got basically like a drum machine, a bass line generator. So let's go to the drum machine here real quick so you can see. Okay, it takes a little bit to load. There's the drum machine. Now if I hit these numbers, hopefully you can hear that. So you got a drum machine in here. Anyways, let's see what else we got. We can test the ports, we can test the audio. Let's test the audio. And you can see I've got the 6581 chip in there. And so here's SID 1. Let's see. There you go. So there's your 3 voices. That's nice. SID 2 is keys 4, 5, and 6. I'm getting nothing, so there's probably not a second SID chip in here, or the second chip is bad. So we'll figure that one out. And you can see that we're on a PAL system here. So there you go. There's that. We can test the ports, but I don't think that's necessary. So we've got a few things going on here. So the bottom line is this thing works, which is cool. I just don't know how to use it because I don't remember. So let's go ahead and open this up and let's see how this was modified. And see, we might modify it further. Maybe we add that second SID and make this, maybe I'll bring in a MIDI keyboard because I do have 1 or 2 MIDI keyboards around. So plug one of those things in. I don't know. Let's see what we have. Okay. There we go. What I was doing is pushing the case back because if you just pull this out or push it forward, you're going to break the tabs. All right. Let's see, one of the tabs here is already kind of hokey, but okay. So here's what we have. Get the camera in here. Okay, these are like 1/4-inch plugs. Okay, and yeah, it looks, sure enough, that this switch here looks like it might be controlling the plugs. What else have we got going on in here? we got the potentiometer coming in to pins on the cartridge port. So that has something to do with the cartridge. It's controlling something on the cartridge. Okay, so we got that. These are Midi ports here. So where they're going, it's interesting because here looks like we have one wire that's not connected. So I'll have to see if that's supposed to go somewhere or if that's okay that it's loose. If you guys are familiar with this mod for the Prophet, maybe you can tell me if this wire here is supposed to be connected to one of the Midi plugs here, or if it's a common wire that's just left loose. I'll look it up on the internet and figure that one out, I think. All right, so let's take the keyboard out here and let's take the shield off and let's see where all these wires go to. Okay, so let's see where these wires go. So here, all of the Midi jacks go to the user port. And then the user port, let's see here if I can get this camera lined up. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I can't really take this board out because then I'd have to take all of the connectors that are screwed in the back out. It's just a real pain in the butt. So I'm not going to bother with that. Instead, I'm just going to kind of lift this up just a little bit in here and see what we've got. Okay. Let's get a little light on this subject matter here. Okay, so the Midi ports, I can see that I got a blue and red wire coming to the bottom, I think to the bottom pin on the left. That's right under pin 1, underneath pin 1. And I think that's ground. I know that. And then I have another wire going to pin what looks like pin. Let me see here. Okay, so I got another wire, a blue wire going to pin 3 on the bottom, which is data line 0. And then the one right next to it is the orange one, and that's data line 1. So those go to the CIA. So that's how it's getting signal in and out of the Midi port. And then there's a little blue wire that's at the very end here. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. That's not connected to anything. It's just kind of little stub that's cut off right there. And that's ground. It's the last pin. So I'm not sure why you want to connect ground over there when you have ground over here on pin 1, but anyways, they did. All right. So that answers that. There's a blue and an orange, and that's where the data is coming in and out of. And then all the rest are ground. All right. So that's that. We'll kind of trace that up at the top here. Because what I found here at the top is that I've got 2 wires. This blue one here that's not connected to anything. And this red one here that's not connected to anything. And I'm thinking those are probably the ground wires underneath. So I'll figure that out. I mean, the main thing of this video is to see what's there. And then the other thing that I found is that the potentiometer over there doesn't go to the cartridge port. It goes underneath. And I'm thinking it's probably noise reduction or something like that, because it probably goes underneath. Anyways, I don't quite know for sure. But again, I don't want to take this board out, because if I wanted to take the board out, I'd have to take these things that are in the way in order to pull the board up and out, because they happen to be in the way. the other thing is the shield is still on, so this blue and red wire I don't think goes underneath the shield. Anyways, this is very difficult to take out, and yeah, I'm just gonna forego taking this thing out. To me, it's not worth it just to find what these two wires go to, because I can figure that out. And then as far as these 1/4-inch jacks are concerned, yeah, my hunch was correct. So this switch basically controls which jack is used. Now where they go underneath, but I think that they go to the sound output of here. I think one of these is sound. I think one of these is input and one of these is output, and it goes to the sound here with it goes to the sound here with, there's a sound in and a sound out from this jack here. And I'm pretty sure that's where they go to. I can always tone it out and find out for sure. So yeah. Okay, I've set up the multimeter for the continuity test. You're going to hear it right now. So that's how we'll know that these two go to the audio in and out of the DIN plug here. This should be ground right here. Yep, that should be ground. And then these wires here go underneath, and I believe they go here. So if I put this in the middle pin there, I should get tone right here. And I do. So that's audio. I think that's audio in. Pin 3 and 5 on this is the audio in and out. I just keep forgetting which one is which, but that's an audio. And they should go to the other pin right there. And it does. So these two are your audios in and out, and then this toggle switch controls basically, what does that toggle switch control? I see blue coming in from here, and that blue is pushing it either there or pushing it over here. So this is some kind of selector switch between the in and out of the 1/4-inch plugs for the audio. All right, so just wanted to verify that. Also, I'm going to verify this red and blue are ground. They're not connected to anything. And there you go. There you go. So these are the two that were on the bottom, soldered into the bottom underneath pin 1, because the top is pin 1. These are soldered underneath, but that's also ground, just like the top is. And then this guy here, all the way in the end, there's nothing connected to it, but that's also ground. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure what the deal is with those ground wires. I don't think they're supposed to be connected to anything on the Midi pins. We already verified that the Midi pins are using data port 0 and 1 on the CIA 1, so that's how it's getting the Midi data in and out. So, and then the way it gets it in and out is those data ports are addressed by the software in the cartridge. So that's how that works. All right. So I'm going to tape these up so they don't touch anything. Just in case they were supposed to be soldered on, I'll do a little more research, but I don't think they are. I don't see any place where they were, and I don't see any solder on them. So, okay. So now as far as this potentiometer here is concerned, what I think, I thought initially that it went into the cartridge port pins for some reason, but it doesn't. It actually goes underneath. But I'm thinking, and it doesn't look like it has anything to do with audio now that I think about it. At first I thought maybe it's noise reduction of some sort, but no. I think basically it goes to the user, to the joystick port. So you can, instead of using the joystick to control any of the software knobs that you turn, that this would take the place, and I verified that by checking continuity. Okay, we can hear the beep from the middle pin, and I'm going to joystick port. I think this is joystick port 2 that I'm on, and that's the bottom right pin. Okay, and then this left one is the 3rd pin. And so this goes to the joystick port, acting like a paddle. So I bet if we load the software up anywhere where we have to turn a knob, I bet this will be the knob that you turn, and that way you don't have to use the joystick trying to make the knob turn around. So anyways, we'll test that out once I put this back together. But I think that's what that is acting like a paddle. All right. So let's get this back together again. Okay, before we wrap this up, a couple of things. So we wanted to double check this knob. And I believe it's actually joystick port 1. It acts as a paddle. And one way to do that is we'll turn this thing on. I have the Prophet64 cartridge plugged back in. Okay. So what we'll do is, there was a port test here, test ports, and that's what I'm going to go into. And I'm turning this knob, and take a look. Actually, it's joystick 2 here, not 1. But anyways, see that knob? That's what it's doing. So I believe that controls, obviously it acts as a paddle. So in any of the other inputs for any of the screens, the instrument screen or the audio screen or whatever, wherever this joystick 2 paddle, maybe it's a volume knob, maybe it's a setting knob, that's what this knob does, is it acts as a paddle. So now we know what that knob is for. All right, I'm shutting this thing down right now, and I'm taking the cartridge out, and just for giggles, I'm going to replace it with a Diac cartridge. And we'll run through the test, and the test should be fine, because we tested the SID earlier with the Prophet64 cartridge, but here we go. And what a nice clean screen that is. All right. And obviously you can see it's PAL because it's widescreen. The ports are bad because I don't have the complete harness hooked up, so that's normal. You can hear the SID. And there you go. All right, so I guess we can wrap this puppy up. We didn't have to do anything with it. So as far as fixing anything, it was more of a discovery journey of how old school MIDI sequencers worked. And the Prophet64 was replaced with the Messiah cartridge. So you should see, currently you'd see the Messiah cartridge, its successor, which has a lot more features than the Prophet64, but this was OG. So yeah, there you have it. So like I always say, live today like it's your last. Life is short. All right. Peace out.